iPhones announced at this event, and at least Tim Cook was very, very obvious and upfront about it. At the very beginning of the event, he just straight up said, we're focusing on 2 products today. So congratulations, Gurman, Bloomberg, leakers. You got it right a lot of the time today. So no big surprises from Apple. Pretty much everything they talked about we knew, and even stuff we were expecting them to talk about, they didn't talk about. And I personally didn't think it was possible for an Apple event to be this stale and uninteresting. This was the shortest Apple event in 4 years, mind you. It was 1 hour, and it was literally just Apple Watches, services, iPad. A lot of disappointing stuff along the way, but not everything was terrible. I mean, the Apple Watch Series 6 does come in a blue and red finish now, which looks epic. Yes, I've ordered one. I can't wait to see the product red Series 6. I think that looks dope. They removed the Apple Watch editions entirely, so there's no more ceramic, and they tinkered with the stainless steel finish a little bit, and they added blood oxygen level monitoring to the Series 6 as well. So you don't need an internet connection. You'll just be able to, in 15 seconds, check the oxygen level of your blood, which is cool, with some extra sensors on the bottom, which should be good for certain use cases when you're hiking or going in high altitudes and that kind of thing. And they also introduced the S6 chip, which is apparently 20% faster than the S5 chip, so that we can export videos much, much faster in the Apple Watch Series 6. They also tinkered the gold design a little bit. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It kind of pops a little bit more, I guess, than before. I'll have to see it in person to really come to a conclusion about it, because when they first unveiled the stainless steel and gold, it definitely didn't look the same as the gold on the website. So the website renders can be deceiving, so I wouldn't 100% believe them, but the new blue option, the red option, they look great. And they also introduced the Apple Watch SE, which I will add months and months in advance. I just threw that out there suggesting that if they do a cheaper Apple Watch, that's the naming they would go with. And I totally called that one, even though I was 100% not expecting them to call it that. They do call it that, and it actually has the design of the Series 4 and 5. It has the S5 chip on the inside. It doesn't have ECG, but it does have fall detection, and it doesn't have an always-on display, but I do think it prioritizes a lot of things most people care about, and there's not as many customizable options with the SE, so it only comes in aluminum, it only comes in space gray, silver, and gold. That's it. So yeah, this kind of sucks, but if you want the new red or blue, you have to get the Series 6. That doesn't come to the cheaper Apple Watch, and it starts at $280, which I found kind of surprising. I was kind of expecting the SE to be the cheaper model, but it turns out they actually want to keep the Series 3. So yeah, they're still selling the Series 3 for $200 and the Apple Watch SE for $280, and the Series 6 is the same price as the Series 5 at $400. It's kind of weird. I'm confused as to why they want to keep the Series 3 around, especially given it has a Force Touch layer and watchOS 7 has removed Force Touch being useful at all. So the SE was a bit more expensive than I was expecting, but you want to know something really upsetting? The new Apple Watches do not include a charge brick. So yeah, they do include the little cable with the charge puck, but no more charge brick. And Lisa went on this whole rant about how it's better for the environment and that's going to help anything, but if you were scared of those rumors of the iPhone not coming with a charge brick, then this does not help that argument. It's most likely going to happen if they're willing to do it on the Apple Watches, and that helps the environment, I guess, but they're not going to offer you a charge brick for free. They're not going to include it at a bundled discount or something like that. It's just gone. So don't expect the charge brick in these new Apple Watches. And they've also introduced a few new watch bands. The really confusing one is the Solo Loop, which I still don't understand how it works. I guess it's stretchy, but you won't even have to clasp it or anything. It's just a singular loop. And they also have a braided watch as well. And they updated the leather loops to be a bit more simple when it comes to the magnets and that kind of thing. So yeah, Apple Watch's got some aesthetic changes that are pretty noticeable, but when it comes to functional changes, blood oxygen level monitoring, some people will appreciate that, but I guess not most. And the SE ended up being more than we thought, which is a bit of a bummer, I will admit. Then they wanted to talk about Apple Fitness Plus. That's right, we got a new Apple service. It's $10 a month. Yeah, really. They just hired some people at Apple to be dedicated trainers that will follow along with you, and when you're doing the workouts, it'll show your heart rate. It basically syncs your watch with whatever device you're watching the trainers on, whether it be your phone or your iPad or your TV, which was rumored. We did hear that this was going to be a thing. I just didn't expect it to be $10 a month. That's a lot. When you buy a new Apple Watch, you do get 3 months for free though, so I guess you can try it out for yourself, but not really something I can justify why, I'm fat and I don't care that much about my health, so I'm not terribly interested in paying Apple $10 a month just so that some overly enthusiastic person can be on my phone telling me, do this now, do this now, do this now. I'm not crazy about that, but I guess it is a lot cheaper than gym membership, and with more people at home, maybe Fitness Plus could be successful to a certain demographic. I think it's way too much. I would have said it should have been cheaper. And then, as expected, they also introduced Apple One, which comes in 3 separate tiers, and to be honest with you, I'm not super happy with the prices on these tiers. So the individual plan includes Apple Music, TV Plus, and Apple Arcade, and 50 gigs of iCloud storage for $15 a month. So I guess if you were already paying for all those, it would be around $20 a month, but I feel like none of you were. And then the family plan is $20 a month, so you can share these services with up to 6 people, and this gives you Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, Apple Arcade, and 200 gigs of iCloud storage for $20, which I guess if you have a family that plans on utilizing those services, it's a decent deal. And then the very, very high-end one is $30 a month, and you get basically everything. 2 terabytes of iCloud storage, Apple News Plus, TV Plus, Apple Arcade, and Apple Music, and eventually Apple Fitness Plus when that comes out later this year for $30 a month. And you're able to share that with 5 other people if you're willing to pay $30 a month. So in my opinion, yeah, this is kind of what we expected when it came to the bundling offers. It's like, see, when you buy all of them together, you get the most savings, but I've just discovered these services aren't worth it to me. I'm not incentivized to subscribe to any of these things, so sorry, Apple Sheep's not crazy about Apple One, because I pay for 2 terabytes of iCloud storage, and that's pretty much my only recurring Apple service right now, and these aren't incentivizing me to upgrade. I have no interest in subscribing to Apple One. So there's your update on services. When it came to the iPads, pretty much exactly what we thought would happen did happen. So the iPad 8 has an A12 chip. It's faster now, and interesting enough, it now comes with a 20-watt USB-C charge brick and USB-C to Lightning cable, even though it's only $300. So you get a fast charger with that iPad now, which is kind of dope. And the iPad Air 4, which I think is kind of the main star of the show because it's the only thing that looks relatively different. iPad Air 4 introduced the A14 chip. That's right. So we're getting our first look at the A14 chip this month, despite the fact that the Air 4 is not coming out until October. This confuses me a lot. They're willing to show the Air 4 now, even though it's not launching until next month. But when it comes to the iPhones, no, we don't want to show that yet. We want to wait until they're ready to ship. Why does the iPad get preferential treatment? I don't know, but it comes in 5 colors, and it's actually not the exact same display as the 11-inch iPad Pro as I thought it would be. This is a 10.9-inch display. Obviously, it's only 60 hertz, no ProMotion. It does look very, very similar to the iPad Pro, except of course with these new color options. Comes in pink, green, and blue, unlike the iPad Pros. It doesn't have flash on the back, and it doesn't have Face ID, though it does sport a new biometric format Apple has never done before, which is Touch ID and the power button. Originally, I was kind of okay with this because I thought it would save on cost, but the Air 4 costs $600, and it still starts with 64 gigs of storage. In my opinion, that's kind of pricey, and knowing that it has the A14 chip, which is really fast, really powerful, and based on the math, I saw a lot of people in our chat calculating, they're saying that it could actually outperform the iPad Pro, which is very bizarre that Apple would do this, and we're not really sure yet of what the RAM on this thing is, but I imagine it would probably be around 3 or 4 gigs. 600 feels a little bit steep, especially considering it doesn't have Face ID. I would almost say that you're better off buying a certified refurbished 2018 iPad Pro, because that'll have Face ID, that'll have 120 hertz. And yeah, the iPad Air does support Apple Pencil 2, Magic Keyboard case like we expected, and thankfully the iPad Air now has stereo speakers, so speakers coming out on both ends of the device, and that makes the 2-in-1 laptop experience much, much better than the previous generation iPad Air, which just had speakers on one side. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting little mid-step iPad. I mean, you're only $200 away from getting an iPad Pro, so I guess if you're looking something first party and new from Apple, this is a pretty good deal, but in my opinion, that Touch ID to unlock the iPad thing is going to be an extra step that I don't think is super convenient and comfortable compared to Face ID. And if they're charging $600 for this, I really wish they could have just put Face ID in it, so that could be more of a universal standard for the iPad, not just a Pro feature, which now seems like Face ID is going to be a Pro feature for many, many years to come. But I'm very curious if they could add that Touch ID top button to more devices. If they're willing to put Touch ID in the iPad, why not bring it back to the iPhone on the power button, just for when we're wearing a mask or something? I don't know, just an idea. I would like to see this brought to more products. On the iPad, it feels kind of weird, but it's also bizarre that it's a 10.9-inch display. Just looking at the pictures of it, it almost looks like the bezels of the iPad Air are just ever so slightly thicker than the 11-inch iPad Pro. It's weird that they didn't want to go straight to 11 inches. I don't know why. They couldn't just share that resolution. Why do we need another resolution and another screen size to remember with this lineup? I don't know. know, but it does come with the 20-watt USB-C charge brick. So Apple updating the charge bricks for the iPads, but removing them for the Apple Watches is kind of weird, with no real bundle or discount when you're checking out an Apple Watch, which I found kind of bizarre. So personally, recapping this event as a whole, I don't think Apple should have done this. Honestly, a lot of these announcements were kind of interesting and fun to talk about, but they did not warrant a dedicated live-streamed event, especially considering how much Apple has done as a site refresh lately. The iPhone SE, the AirPods Pro, the 16-inch MacBook Pro, the Magic Keyboard. There's so much stuff that was huge, and there was lots to talk about, but they decided to do it as a site refresh because obviously it's not that big a deal and doesn't really warrant its own dedicated event. But in my opinion, Apple kind of clickbaited everyone. Everyone's used to seeing iPhones in September, and yes, not everyone keeps up with leakers and what rumors are saying. Some people just follow Apple for Apple, and having a September event that's live streamed that they make a big deal about, that they redesign the like animation for Twitter and they do Apple Event 2020 hashtag, that gets a lot of people hyped and thinking, hey, this is it. This is when the iPhones come out. That's the way it's been for 8 years. And to get all this hype and to get all this excitement and taking down of old iPhone videos and that, just so that you can talk about your services and some watch updates and iPad updates, I don't think this justified an event. Personally, it was over in an hour and 3 minutes, which in my opinion is way too small for a September event. This is by far the shortest September event of all time. And in my opinion, it would have been way smarter for Apple to just drop these as site refreshes occasionally throughout September. Like 1 week, drop the Series 6 and the SE, and then the next week, drop the iPad 8, and then the week after that, drop the iPad Air 4. Then you could have had hype over your announcements and coverage for the entire month, instead of getting people really excited for 1 week and then immensely disappointed today, which is what I kind of felt, because there's a bunch of stuff we were still expecting to see, even without the iPhones. We were like mini HomePod or AirTags or AirPods Studio or something with AirPods at all. So to get just literally a whole event dedicated to some watches and an iPad, I didn't think Apple would do it, and I was wrong. I'll admit it. I really didn't think they would stretch this into an event with so much fluff, so much dead air, so much slow transitions, and times they spent explaining to people how the Apple Pencil worked. Apple Pencil's been around for 5 years, and they're acting like we've never heard of it before. Like, look, you can draw with the iPad, right? It just felt like this event didn't need to happen. It just created a whole bunch of hype, and now people are disappointed, and now we got another month to wait for new iPhones. So stay tuned for that, I guess. But on the good news side of things, iOS 14, iPadOS, watchOS 7, and tvOS updates, they're all dropping for the public tomorrow. So stay tuned for iOS 14 and iPadOS and watchOS 7. They won't be on beta anymore. They'll be available for everyone tomorrow, which is cool. And macOS Big Sur, we don't have any news on that. Probably October they'll launch it for the public. But yeah, for the meantime, Apple Sheep is disappointed. He feels like Apple clickbaited everyone into thinking there would be iPhones just so that they can try to sell you more services, which I don't like Apple being like this. And I think if you're willing to showcase the iPad Air, even though it's not shipping until October, then you should have just unveiled the iPhones now, even though they're not ready to ship until October. I don't see how that's any different. I guess iPhone is iPhone, and that means it has to have its own special dedicated event. But what did you guys think? Am I being overly critical towards this keynote? Feel free to let me know. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you all in the next one.